Hey, what's going on, guys? SnivyPootis here, and welcome back to another video. And today I am back with another meta discussion. Well, full-on meta discussion this time around. And we are discussing the changes to recent jobs and just the current state of other jobs in 6.28. And this was last Tuesday, where we had a range tax lift of sorts. I can't really say for sure if it fixed it or not, because it's still pretty early from the changes, but we'll get into that later in the video. But we have a guest on the channel, a guest that you might or may not have seen on the channel before from other videos. It is Fyra. Say hi, Fyra.
Hello.
Yeah, he's appeared on the channel a couple of times in past videos, older videos where the audio quality was not as good, but anyway, yeah, for long-term viewers you know who he is, but for those who don't, he is also a pretty avid Final Fantasy XIV player, and he also happens to main a physical range DPS, which is Machinist, one of the notoriously underbuffed jobs of all time ever since Walker came out, and funnily enough got the most significant changes out of all the jobs. Well, not the most significant, but the most overall changes. But it's to be determined. But as of right now, I'd say they're pretty overall okay. So, what was your initial thoughts on the Machinist changes?
I cried a little bit. Genuinely, like, looking at it, it's about like 300, give or take a little bit, more potency during your burst, which is really, really, really good. It does solve a lot of the problems, but it's not perfect.
It's a step in the right direction, for sure.
Yeah, it's in the right direction.
I didn't really know what to expect going into this. Like, I thought they were just going to look at physical range. I didn't expect for them to buff the casters as well. But whenever I don't know.
Poor Red Mage, man.
It's still not super great. Even after, like, what did they get? Like sword combo buffs, and
they got sword combo buffs, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, Red Mage, it's fine. And I understand it really should, like, realistically, if you look at it, it's like, oh, utility mage. But the issue with Red Mage right now is Summoner has more mobility than Red Mage, and does more damage.
Exactly. It's like you're playing, like, both Summoner, yeah, you can argue, okay, well, Summoner, like, what does Summoner have that Red Mage also doesn't have? Like, okay, Red Mage, they can raise people more often with dual cast. Okay, Red Mage has a heal. Okay, but you never want to use that anyway. But Summoner also has a heal, and their heal,
that's just part of the rotation.
Yeah, it's just baked into the rotation, and they don't even have to do anything. Like, both of their healing, Rekindle, and what is it? I can't remember the AoE. Yeah, the AoE regen from Phoenix. They are both just things that you use anyway. You don't have to even think about it. And they're both, like, the Phoenix just pops on its own, but Rekindle's no GCD, so you don't even have to waste the GCD to use it. So
you could argue that, like, like, Phoenix is just a Medica too. I mean, yeah, you could argue that, but I mean, it's still free HP.
Exactly. It may not be super strong, but, like, it's a regen to regen, especially in, like, high-end content.
It's also free. Like, Red Mage, it's a dedicated thing. Like, you have to use your DCD.
Yeah, you have to use the GCD to cast it, and even, like, whatever here on its own is not super great. It's like 10k, 10 or 9k, depending on your determination. So, and if you do 2, it's like 20k, and that's, you know, you may think, oh, that's great, you know, well, like, you're missing out on, like, that could have been a jolt to Vert Thunder, or a Vert Fire to Vert Thunder, or Vert Stone to Vert Arrow, something like that. Or
like, their sword combo
else.
does feel a million times better. Like, the final hit's 500 now, which that's great. It's just everything else, like, their dry periods are so dry, you don't do any damage.
Yeah, like, basically you're just juggling between Vert Fire, Vert Stone, Vert Thunder, Vert Arrow, and then if you don't have acceleration stacks, then you just jolt until you hopefully get a proc, then you get your sword combo, and then it's just like, woo-wee, and then, like, as soon as you're done with that, it's like, okay, well, back to Vert Thunder, Vert Stone, whatever spam. And the thing is that Vert Stone and Vert Fire, those are your proc abilities, and yet they still don't feel that great in terms of damage.
The best part, your proc abilities actually have lower potency than your non-procs.
Yeah, like, you think that the proc abilities with the 50% chance to appear would be doing, like, significantly more damage, but it doesn't really do much more at all. Like, a crit direct hit with a Vert Fire or Vert Stone only gets you to about 28k at best. And that's like, that's not assuming that you have the highest roll potency and all raid buffs. Like, you may be able to squeeze in 30k with a pot too, but that's just like, best case scenario.
I think, like, the worst part is it feels fine, Red Mage does. Like, it feels perfectly fine.
Yeah.
You don't realize you're not doing that much damage unless you're, like, actively checking. It's like, oh, let me look at the aggro list. Oh, I'm last. Oops. Oh, well.
Yeah, it's especially if you use certain calculators, but it's
those are illegal tools. We don't talk about those.
but even so, like, you don't even need to use that. You can just check FF logs, the website, and it's even more apparent where Red Mage is. Even in our DPS, it's like, it's kind of whack at the moment.
Which is kind of insane because Embolden is so powerful.
Yeah,
it's 5% for 20 seconds.
It's definitely better than it was in Shadowbringers.
Where, yeah, and with only physical damage.
Yeah, it was so wonky the way it worked in Shadowbringers that, like, I'm glad they changed it, and it definitely did help, but it didn't really help it enough.
I think what the thing about it is I'm gonna offend some people.
Oh god, here we go.
I think Summoner's too strong.
Honestly, yeah. It's like probably the safest caster to play, and it's also super easy to play as well on top of that. Like,
it's the safest and it's the easiest. And we're gonna hit the point where it's just Shadowbringers again, where Summoner is the best DPS in the game.
Yep, exactly. I mean, Black Mage is viable, but, like, you're missing out on utility and raid buffs, and the Black Mage has to be really on top of their game in order to compensate.
Yeah. The buffs Black Mage just got they don't seem significant, like 1% Inoki and 40 to Xenoglossy Foul.
Yeah, it's like, as a Black Mage player, like, that's what I play in, generally in high-end content, and I've been playing a lot of it recently. I can definitely say that it feels like I'm hitting a little bit harder, but I'm still kind of, like, I'm still getting out damaged by a Reaper on our team. He's a good Reaper. I'm not saying that it's his fault or mine. It's just like, it definitely feels like that since the Reaper got, like, much better buffs than Black Mage this patch, it feels like that I am still having to be basically on top of my game in order to keep up.
Yeah, and speaking of Reaper, it got some much needed changes. Like, that was incredible.
Exactly. Like, what did they get? They got the buff the Harvest and Communio, and they also got, I think that's about it, isn't it?
Lemur's Scythe.
Oh yeah, that's too.
Slice?
Lemur, I just call it Lemur's Slice.
Lemur's Slice, yeah. It got a potency bump to 220.
Yeah, like, I didn't know how much the little burst damage in in Trial Dust because I don't play Reaper that much. I played it a little bit in last year. I didn't play it Savage wise, but I did play it a little bit last year. I was gonna be a maiming main. I twisted my tongue. I was gonna be a maiming main, but I decided against it. But I don't know, like it didn't feel like I was struggling to outburst people, but I definitely can see like the Harvest change, that was definitely big. And Communio, like that tops it off. You're probably gonna be seeing people hitting 100k in Communio now.
Well, sure. I don't think you'll see people hitting 100k because I think the only attack that currently can is
Ninja.
Ninja, because they have a
trick attack.
What is it? They have trick attack, which is a 10% damage buff. Then they have the highest potency attack in the game at 1300. And then they have Kasatsu, which adds 30%.
Oh yeah, you know, I honestly forgot about Kasatsu as well. That does technically count for that, which is weird because it already does so much.
Yeah, and then they also have Mug with that. So it's like, what, 15% of their own plus 30% from Kasatsu.
And then that 5%.
Well, 5% from Mug, 10% from Trick. And then, yeah. Ninja is realistically, I will say, Ninja's perfect where it is. I think it's in an incredible spot.
Yeah, it's like where like you don't have to bring it into everything, but if you do, then it's definitely, you know, you're still gonna get through stuff just fine. Maybe
it's also faster. Rather, you know, challenging to play.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't say it's like, you know, it's like in between where I can't really say for sure like a good example. I'd say it's like Paladin levels of rotation complexity, and then like in between that on the other side it's like on the base level it's like I'd say Samurai, to be honest. Like you don't have to be super cracked at Ninja to be good at Ninja, but a cracked Ninja really does show whenever you're like, going through stuff.
The difference between a good ninja and a great ninja is a lot.
Yeah, like if you have a really good ninja on your team, you will notice it when you're going through content. As a former ninja main, because that's what I played for the remainder of last year, it definitely shows. Like I was beating a dance partnered monk on ninja. So
speaking of Paladin, oh, that's tragic.
They didn't get anything.
Tragic.
I mean, they're getting a rework in 6.3, so I guess that's fair, because, you know, they probably won't change much until
they're gonna turn it into another burst tank.
I mean, honestly,
I guess.
I mean, yeah. I never really understood the whole why people thought Paladin was like the hardest tank. Like it's funny because like I always, from my perspective at least, I feel like Paladin was the easiest for me, and then like Dark Knight was the hardest.
I have a hard time with Dark Knight. I have a very hard time.
Like I can never play that job super well. Like, you know, even after I looked at videos to optimize and whatnot, I could never just get it right. But with Paladin, it just clicked for me. I mean, it could just be because that's the class that I started on, like the start of the game on. But it's also just because it's just, I don't know what it is about it. It's just like the rotation is just so, it feels so linear that in my brain it's just kind of like, it kind of flows nicely.
Yeah, you have like the Paladin flowchart. You have melee combo for a bit, then do magic combo.
Yeah, and then just loops like that for the entirety of the fight, with maybe occasionally weaving a reprisal or an intervention or something else like that.
Yeah.
So I'm honestly curious as to what they're gonna do to make it a bursty tank, like all the other tanks. I mean, like I could say like, oh well, like all tanks are bursty tanks. We could use something variety, but it's like, well, this game is centered around burst damage, and that's how it's always been. So like to have a job that can't really get much value out of burst windows can be really hard for it to excel in high-end content. Because it just shows, like, you can see all the other tanks, you're like, most likely like a Gunbreaker or a Dark Knight, their numbers are gonna climb up, while yours are kind of just like, okay, well, that's by 500, that's about it. Like, what much burst damage do you have to offer and to dump in those windows? Like intervention, and then your whip Whiscat, and that's about it. You
Like
know,
they have
Sworn.
an opener that is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Press fight or flight and watch it burn for 18 seconds,
Yeah, it's.
and then start the pull.
I just find it wild how that's a viable opener. I was a paladin main, and I didn't even think about doing that. I always just did fast. I did fast blade, and then right after the second BCDs that come up, I'll do fight or flight, and then I'll go into everything else. Like, you don't even.
Yeah, there's the standard one, which is that, and then there's the if you want to line up everything because you want to be an Omega tryhard, you just burn it, and it's awful.
You should not have a job that has to pop their major buff that early. I mean, Black Mage does it, but that's only because of fight design, because of ley lines placement. Because, like, for example, in almost literally every fight in this tier, actually, not almost, but every fight in this tier requires a 4 to 10 second pre-pull ley lines. P5 and P7 is a pre-pull ley lines.
You see, you Black Mages, you guys impress me. My Machinist brain.
Oh yeah, you can run around. We do the opposite of what you do. You can run around and do stuff. I just stand still. It's not as easy as it looks at all. But
I know. I'm stressed looking at it.
Like, you can. I don't think I have much footage of me playing Black Mage on my channel, but yeah, it's a little bit wild. Like, I cannot say for certain that I've had times where I literally just had a quote-unquote Black Mage moment where I just did the move and died because I did not get center for heals. It's just like that. And, you know, there's also times where you think that your ley lines is going to be in a good spot, and then it's not. And then you have to abandon it for like 6 to 8 seconds, and you're just crying in the corner with your slow casting, and then you go back into it and you're happy again until it's gone, and then you're sad. That's it. And then you repeat the cycle until it comes back off cooldown. I think the hardest part about Black Mage, honestly, is keeping your ley lines with raid buffs and remembering to use it off cooldown, because it's really easy to just fall into that I gotta hold it mentality, because you don't want to waste it and like be out. Because like I want to say that the optimal amount of time, because you don't have to be in it the entire time, you can just be in it for about, I'd say, how long is that, 30 seconds? Pretty long. So like, I'd say you can be in it for maybe 20 to 25 seconds, or maybe even 19 seconds at max. Anything lower than that, then you're wasting your ley lines. Like, because you never expect it to be able to stay in your ley lines the entire time. In any fight, to be honest, there's never a time where you don't have to leave it, unless you're just incredibly lucky with the placement and mechanics.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So it's people say that Black Mage is hard. It isn't hard to play the actual job. The only hard part is knowing when and when not to move. But once you get that down, like, it's kind of like, I literally do my rotation with one hand, so it's it's wild. I mean, well, obviously not the whole time, but you know, during fire phase, it's like, what else do I do? Fire 4 3 times, paradox, fire 4 3 times, and then despair, and then that's it. And occasionally I'll mana font. It's a time and a half. Anyway, Warrior also got buffs this patch.
Good. That's good. Yes. Buff Cleave. Yes. More damage.
Well, I don't know how much it helps. I don't play Warrior, but like, I feel like Cleave's great.
It helped a lot. Yeah, it helped a ton. Like 20 potency, I think, is what it got on Cleave.
Yeah.
That's a lot. that's a lot for warrior. I mean, that's
like their main. That's like literally 90% of their rotation is Velcleave. So
every minute, like just with just in a release, that's 60 extra potency, and those are all crit directs. Like, and then they also got, I think, 10 on upheaval. I might be getting this backwards.
No, it was. You're right. It's upheaval. They buffed upheaval and Velcleave.
I wasn't sure if I got the numbers backwards, but I think it's 20 on Velcleave and 10 on upheaval.
Sounds about right. Yeah, I don't have it pulled up on my end yet, but
I'll pull it up.
that sounds about right. I think last time I checked anyway.
But that's good. That's a lot more damage. Like warrior, I mean, the tanks are weird right now because the Dark Knight is completely different to how it used to be in Shadowbringers, where it was the worst DPS for the tanks. But now it's the best DPS for the tanks, which I feel like it is 100% justified.
Yeah.
Like, it's 100% justified.
Yeah, Dark Knights were crying at the beginning of the expansion because I thought that they got it dirty. When it turns out now they're literally the best DPS tank in the game. I think Gunbreaker is slightly beating them again, but people are starting to run double Dark Knight now.
Oh really?
Yeah, for speed kills, people are starting to do double Dark Knight because apparently that is extremely powerful for killing bosses really fast. Which honestly not surprising because Dark Knight's burst damage is probably the best in the game right now. No, that's not even a question. Of course, it just straight up is. Like you can get.
Look at this.
You can get back into Shadowbringer's 20k numbers with the opener alone.
Yeah, no, Dark Knight's crazy. Yeah, Gunbreaker is just barely beating it.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be. I feel like that Dark Knight might get a little bit of buff again because I feel like that they probably want to keep Dark Knight at the top, just because that's probably like what it should be the best at, to be honest.
It has like I would say the most difficult cooldown rotation, like mitigation rotation.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, I feel like Dark Knight and Gunbreaker, they're not just meta because of, like, oh, well, you know, best
damage.
DPS tanks, yeah. Like, it's like Dark Knight and Gunbreaker both have Magic Net, which is extremely powerful, considering that every single red white in this fight hits for magic.
Yeah, you have Dark Missionary and then Heart of Light.
Yeah, like, as a...
Shake It Off is, like, really good, and so is Divine Veil. But those are just the full mitt.
Yeah, honestly, Divine Veil is kind of... It's on its own, it's not really that great. Like, it's pretty... Not to mention that you have to pop a GCV heal in order for it to be popped. It's just kind of... It's kind of dumb. So if you don't have a white mage, it's just kind of like...
If things work out, you can pop Divine Veil right before you enter, like, Requiescat. And then your Holy Spirit heal will pop it.
Yeah, thankfully they thought about that, and Holy Spirit does proc it, which honestly, if they didn't do that, then that would have made it way worse. Because that's basically the only way I'm gonna get it to pop. Because I would rather let my healers do more damage than tell them every other 90 seconds to be like, hey, could you pop my Divine Veil for me, please? Or even worse, just pop Clemency and do it yourself. That's even worse. Like, I mean, what you say, like, one GCD, but it may not hurt, but, like, you know, sometimes it can be the make or break between losing out on, because, like, all it takes is that one bad GCD and you're put Paladin in your entire rotation. It's just
gone.
Sent into the Shadow Realm, and that's what makes it so hard.
There is no recovery on Paladin.
Yeah, as soon as you screw up your rotation once, it's like, oh well. Hope you have fun having everything be out of line for the entire rest of the fight. So you have to keep it linear. Like, it is straight. It's a fixed rotation. I think that's probably why people think it's so hard, because the rotation is fixed, and there's 0 recovery options.
I don't understand Dark Knight, so I can't even talk about it. All I know is it's really good.
if my static member was here, he's Dark Knight main. But as far as I know, from his perspective, it is very much a class where you have to keep in mind when and where to use your things, mainly TBN, because you may think, oh, this will definitely break it, and then it doesn't. Like the P7S raid wide doesn't even actually break TBN on its own.
Oh, the initial one,
Yeah.
Spark of Life.
Yeah, Spark of Life is funnily enough, Spark of Life is the weakest hitting AoE in the tier right now.
Well, it causes a bleed that hurts for like 12 million% of your health.
Yeah, it's weird though, because like I think I've gotten closer to death on Ruby Glow than I have on Spark of Life.
Ruby Glow freaking hurts, that's why.
And don't even get me started on Hemithego Stark 4.
Oh, I have to tactician for that one every single time, otherwise we die.
Exactly.
Thankfully, it happens only every 90 seconds, but you know what else has every 90 seconds? Tactician.
Yeah, like if it happened any sooner or later than that, then I feel like that mitigation for that would be painful. Because like I literally had times where like, oh, reprisal Sacred Soil, that'll do the trick. Nope, no, it does not.
Speaking of painful, can we talk about White Mage?
Poor White.
Tragic. It's so tragic. Their healing is really, really good. Like the 20-second lilies they got a little while ago, along with the buff to Misery, really, really good. That helped him out a ton. And 20-second lilies is so much healing.
Yeah, like I honestly feel like that. Funnily enough, people still run White Mage pretty often in groups. I've honestly seen more White Mages around than Astrologians lately, but yeah, like I do feel like that they should at least, please, Square Enix, I know you're probably not watching this video at all, but please, for the love of God, revert the thin air change. It is not needed. It never was needed. It's just worse now. It should have is. Like, White Mage's MP economy is better, but you know what would make it even better is if they made thin air back to what it was, and if they made it so you get MP back from lilies. Like,
and then you're diving into Sage's identity a little bit there.
Yeah, I know they want jobs to be separate and like, you know, whatnot. They could at least, I feel like, make the lilies OG cities.
Make Misery give you mana back.
Yeah, or that too. Yeah, just like,
there you go.
Just something, just a little. They don't really need a whole bunch of big changes. They just need to tweak it a little bit, but they don't really. Square Enix doesn't really know what they want to do with the healers. I don't really feel.
Well, I guess it's this time. Like the last expansion was the tank overhaul.
Yeah.
They completely redid all the tanks, gave them only one stance, and made them a lot more linear, while still having like mechanics and unique gimmicks to themselves. And this one was definitely the healer overhaul. You know, all the healers, their single targets are 1.5 seconds now. There's a lot more focus on healing than there is doing damage.
Funnily enough, it's just not. They really. That's another thing I honestly like. Kind of a bit off topic, but I really wish that they would emphasize that healers need to do damage in this game, because I don't think they get that across much.
Yeah, no, I get that. Healers do need to do damage. I agree.
Like people.
A lot of these like high-end fights, they don't have a lot of downtime for healers to like be like, all right, it's time to become a glare bot. It's like, oh god, my team is bleeding. Ah.
Yeah, it's like, it's like weird. Like I can understand people who aren't like, you know, super sure, like, oh well, will this Medica 2 clear the bleed, or like will this Sacred Soil Adlo spread be enough, like, you know. But like 9 times out of 10, like not every AoE will fucking murder you outright. At least not in normal content. In Savage, of course, like you want to mitt everything. You can't unmitt anything. Maybe, like I said, P7S Spark of Life, Light of Life, no, but Spark of Life, yes. You can't get away with not admitting that. But it just might be a little bit more rough if you don't. But it's just more people need to get more comfortable with what they can get away with, because some people think that, oh crap, my team got hit by an AoE, I gotta spam my healing buttons, and it's like, no, well, you know, you can just throw out maybe
a couple.
Yeah, like maybe 1 or 2, maybe at the very least.
Sage.
Yeah.
Sage could probably just press Holos and it'll be fine.
Honestly, yeah, Holos Ixicole, and then good go.
Holos is crazy. Speaking of Sage, they buffed Sage?
Yeah, Phlegma.
Oh, okay. Oh, why? It was already really, really good.
I mean, I guess they wanted Phlegma to do a little bit more. I mean, I'm not a Sage player. I can't speak for them.
Phlegma nut.
Honestly, I feel like Sage is in a good spot.
Don't put that in, please. Don't put that in.
No, I'm going to.
Oh no.
They just need to. Like, honestly, I feel like that it's fine as it is. But you know,
I mean, more damage, more damage. We take those.
Yeah, I'm not. I'll never say no to more damage. I mean, why? But you know, because y'all know Screen loves throwing the nerf hammer around.
Yeah. Can I avoid it for a couple more patches, please?
No. They're gonna bring Machinist back down to Earth soon enough. You'll say enough.
They're gonna bring it back to Heavensward, not Heavensward. Where was it bad? I forget. It was probably Heavensward.
I mean, that's when it first came out.
It was either bad in Heavensward or bad in Stormblood. I don't remember.
I didn't play the game at all during those expansions. I played it in the early Shadowbringers, so I have no idea what it was like before that. Outside of just clips.
Stormblood and tactical points were the greatest thing ever. Please bring them back. This is a joke. Please never touch them ever again.
All I know is that it had ammo, and that was a whole different can of worms.
So they're 1, 2, 3. You know how Dancer, they have a 1 and 2, and then their 3 and 4 is all RNG.
Yeah.
Yeah. So remove the 3 and 4. Just have a 1, 2, 3, but make it to where if you even get the second or third hit, it's all RNG.
Oh, that's fun.
But if you have ammo, it's guaranteed.
That sounds about right for a range. Because I'm just glad they changed it. I mean, that's kind of. I'm fine. I play Dancer a lot. Well, not a lot, but I did play it a lot. So I'm kind of used to how it would be, but I couldn't imagine how that would be, not even having a 2.
It was really frustrating.
I can only imagine. There's times like this where I feel privileged as hell to not have played during that era, because there were some cool things that I wish I could have experienced, like old Astrologian, but
Bard was really cool. You had like crazy cool damage buffs. You actually used your mana. It was neat.
Yeah, I know Stormblood Bard was like a powerhouse, and now Bard
the best DPS in the game. Best DPS in the game.
And then Bard now is just like wear buffs.
Wear buffs. Bard, I mean, Bard's, I think the thing about Bard is it's in a pretty good spot, because you gotta think it has a constant buff up for the entire party.
Yeah, like it's like what, like 1, 2, 3%.
It's like 1%, 2%. Wait, actually, what is it? 2%, 1%, 3%. Yeah.
So like
it's all to like a different stat or just damage. The 1% is just damage.
And like it may not seem like much, but that 1% damage can come in clutch.
Yeah, you got to think about that. That's between 8 people, so that's 8% damage.
Yeah, so it's still pretty good. Like some people may think that, oh my god, that's overpowered, but it's like, no, it's crazy, sure, but like that's kind of how the Fizz range are supposed to be. Besides Machinist, which is a whole different ballpark. But
oh, don't get me started.
But yeah, I'm honestly really glad they did not buff Dancer this patch, because they did not need
Dancer
it.
is Dancer's in a really, really good spot. It's released last expansion, but it's in the best spot it's ever been. It's incredibly powerful. Honestly, it has high potency attacks, like incredibly high. Honestly,
it's been like, I feel like it's been pretty much the best Fizz range since it came out, and it still kind of is. Like I see dancers everywhere. Like if I ever see an average person playing this game, they're always on dancer. Like no matter what. Like I feel like dancer has to be one of the most popular classes in the game, especially on Crystal.
It's also really easy to play.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why it attracts so many players.
You could argue it for it being the easiest class. You kind of just press your buttons when they light up.
Yeah, like there isn't really a bunch of optimization when it comes to playing dancer, besides maybe
like,
feathers.
Like feathers and like saving saber dance for like buffs and such, but it doesn't really matter too much.
Yeah, you're not really having to be like, oh, what if when rainbow's coming up, I gotta use my feathers, or like, you know, what is my burst? Like, dancer is pretty simple. Like, yeah, you could argue that there could be some higher level optimization there, but at the base level, I think that it's pretty simplistic to play. At least in my opinion. You could argue that it's not. You could argue that it's more complicated. But I'm not a dancer player. Okay, I play black mage, so I cannot sympathize with his range. I used to play dancer, but I don't play it anymore. So
dancer's in an incredibly good spot, and I think it was well over justified to buff the other two phys range. Like Bard, yeah, tiny buff, 30 potency every 15 seconds, whatever. Machinist got cracked out of its mind. It got 20 potency every 20 seconds.
Yeah, they honestly, I feel like that they just need to bite the bullet and just make hypercharged stacks, like they did with Requiscat in Blood Weapon.
The thing about Machinist, its biggest problem is you can't play it at high ping.
Absolutely.
Like, when I say high ping, I mean anything that's 100 or higher. You will not be able to get your 5 hypercharges. And I think that's a little too punishing, because you're being punished for not having flawless internet, and that sucks.
Exactly. Like if I think Ninja's kind of the same, but you can get away with it more on Ninja than. But
you can get away with it more, yeah, because Mudra snapping is pretty forgiving.
Yeah, like, but with Machinist, it's like you literally, like, hell, you can barely even weave if you have bad ping on Machinist during hypercharge window.
They have to weave a lot. They have to weave 5 DCs in a row.
Yeah, they gotta weave. They're like, what is it, like heat blast, ricochet, heat blast, gauss, heat blast, ricochet, heat blast, gauss, right?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Which, speaking of heat blast, the damage they gave it was really wow. We actually got the 20 on heat blast. I can't believe it.
It only took
It only took a year from the expansion coming out.
It only took 0.28 patches to of Machinist groveling at Yoshi P's feet for buffs, and he finally just said, "Okay, fine."
Hey, at least we're cool in PvP.
Oh yeah, PvP, y'all are something else. Like I haven't played PvP in a while, but I genuinely am like, okay, that's a Machinist. I'm staying away. That's the one time where I'm like, that's a Machinist. I'm staying away from them. No, thank you.
You want to know why the ult's called Marksman's Spite?
Why?
Because I've been suffering since Endwalker released.
You know what? That's accurate.
Yeah, just like the sniper is.
He's sniping all the competition. You can't be the worst DPS if all the other DPS are dead.
Exactly. That's exactly right. But, what else got buffed? Summoner? We didn't really talk about Summoner. Summoner? What? Why?
That's don't really feel like they needed anything.
It's, like, Fester, that's good. But 50 to each summon attack?
Yeah, like, they've...
That's crazy!
I feel like that they didn't really need to buff the Primal Rush, to be honest. Like, Summer's already in a pretty good spot. I mean, I'll even say, as a Black Mage main, I don't think Black Mage needed their buffs either, but I will not complain about it. But I will say, I feel like Red Mage deserves the most love out of the casters right now, for sure.
Yeah. Like, I genuinely think we're obviously gonna get a Paladin rework, but I think we might be getting Red Mage and Machinist.
Honestly, just give Red Mage a dot. Like, they said they were gonna think about it, just do it.
No, don't give it a dot. It's kind of cool without it. Where would you put it is my question.
Scorch.
Put it on score. Oh yeah, I guess put it in the middle of their like finale.
Yeah, and it just be like basically like Paladins, but instead of it being at the end, it's like midway through.
Midway through their finale.
As long as, you know, they don't make it an OGCD or something like that. God forbid.
Yeah, more weaving on Red Mage.
I mean, thankfully their entire sword combo is like a 2.5 recast, instant cast GCD, so you don't have to worry about weaving too much. But as a person who played Red Mage, I can say that weaving on Red Mage can freaking suck sometimes.
Yeah.
Because even with dual cast, it feels like that you have like maybe like with your movement abilities, you're gonna be double weaving them all the time. And I will say, trying to weave engagement and corpse to corpse every time is not fun.
Oh, I don't even use core. No, wait, not core. I don't even use freaking. I use engagement. I never use displacement because engagement just better fight me.
I mean, it is. It used to be like so much annoying in Shadowbringers because you'd have to be like, well, I can get it's a gain if I use displacement, but if I use displacement, I'll fall off.
Yeah. But I say buff Red Mage again. The summoner is really powerful.
Yeah, I'd say just give Red Mage another. Honestly, to end it off, I'd say just give Red Mage more love, like more buffs. Like maybe look at their filler, because I feel like their filler is what they are struggling with. Their burst is fine.
The burst is great. It's like a 500. It's like what is the attack potencies here? Because you have the finale of sword, which is now 500. So you have 500 into 580. Into 680 into 750. That's really good. Like their burst is really powerful now.
Exactly. Like their burst is phenomenal. It's just their
filler is just dog water.
Their filler is really what they need to be looked at. Summoner, honestly, I feel like that they didn't need buffs. They're good buffs. They didn't go too far with it at all. But I really don't feel like they needed. It's contrary mic. I really don't feel like they needed it at all because like they're already fine. Black Mage, their buffs they're good too. I don't really mind them at all. They're not too powerful, not too what's the word? They're not too powerful or they're not too weak either. It's like pretty standard, pretty good buffs.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's fine.
Machinist definitely needed it. A step in the right direction though. They definitely need to do more, but it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Keeping in mind, they said we're getting mechanical changes for classes in the next patch, I believe, which is
which
December? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's about there. Honestly, which I'm more excited about than what we got now, because this is more just standard job balancing. But it's always more exciting to see what they do with the whole full-on rework or change of classes and stuff like that.
Yeah, Paladin will be really interesting. And if we do end up getting a Machinist rework, that'll be super... That'll be... Because they could go one of two ways. They could go keep it selfish. And... the thing with Machinist is it's weird. It's... The thing about Fizz Range is it has the least dedication for attacking out of all of the classes. Because melee has to be, in the boss, and range, or not range, but magic has to cast.
And Fizz Range, they can just go like, wee!
Fizz Range is like, oh, we have legs! Wee!
Yeah, exactly. I mean, granted, you're not going to be going every which way in high-end content on Fizz Range anyway, but just the fact that they don't have to worry about, instant cast or uptime at all, they kind of have it easy compared to the other jobs.
Which is why I think it's... Machinist should not do as much damage as Black Mage or Samurai. There's no way, there's no reason it should, because then why would you play Black Mage or Samurai?
Exactly.
But I think it should do more than it does right now.
It should, I feel like it should definitely be at least beating Dragoon.
If they want to keep it selfish, it needs to do more. But if they want to give it like a buff, like a party buff, make it. The thing, if you want to keep it selfish, like there's two ways you can go. You can keep it selfish and then give it more party mitigation. Like bring back, there was an attack in one of the old expansions, I think it was called like, I forget what it was called, but it was a 60-second cooldown that reduced the target's damage dealt by 10%. For 50 seconds.
Like reprisal.
Yeah, it's like reprisal, but it was targeted. There's that, and then, or you could give it like a shield of some sort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's how I would keep it selfish. If we were to make it a support thing, just I don't know, just give it a generic damage buff. I don't know.
just
Or
change
no,
wildfire into something like trick attack, I'd say.
yeah, give it a debuff. There you go. You've now fixed the roll. Good job.
Exactly. Like, they need to do something with it. Like, I will be very surprised if they just do nothing with this next one.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, they gave it a bunch of buffs this patch, but like they gotta do. There's more to be had. Obviously, there's always more to be had.
I think it's in a decent spot. I don't think it was in a like actually unplayable spot before, contrary to popular opinion.
Yeah,
It was fine. It wasn't. It was objectively the worst DPS in the game. Yes. Is it probably still? Yeah.
Yeah, like it's funnily enough in my reclears, my group, our machinist, like we had a machinist. He's a dancer player, but he went machinist for reclears, and he was pulling a consistent 10k. He was in the top 3, so
Yeah, 10k is a lot more feasible for them now, which is really nice.
yeah, like he didn't dip below 10k for basically the entire pool. So that means that whatever they did, it's definitely good. They just need to keep that up.
It's, like I said, it's 20 potency every 20 seconds and about 300 more in their burst.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just whatever they need, whatever they do, I hope that it just shoots it up back to where it should be, I guess is the best way to put it. Back to where, it's competing. I think it was competing with Samurai back in Shadowbringers for a while.
It was maybe, but I think about where it was in Shadowbringers was like Dragoon level.
Like, I never played Machinist in Shadowbringers, but I do know people who did, and I remember seeing Machinist at the top sometimes. So
Machinist was good.
yeah, it was goated in Shadowbringers. That's a whole different story.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, that's about all the time that I have for now. If you guys ever want to see us do something like this again in the future, just leave a like or a comment down below if you liked it, or if you have any suggestions on how I can improve this. This is the first time I've really done a mini podcast, even though it's pre-recorded, kind of talk show thingy. But I don't know, it was a lot of fun for me, and it's just definitely something I wanted to try for a while. Any closing thoughts, Fyre, before sign off?
Meta good. Play what you want. Have a darn good time.
Wise words from a wise man. Alright. I'm gonna...
Oh, it's words from a bullied machinist meme.
That too. Alright. And with that, I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.
Still a piece of garbage.